Yes, so Hairless here. Today we are going back to the Avi era with the FIRST NOEL. This video is from 2015, so basically a decade ago to the day almost. This is another one of those carols whose origins are uncertain, although it's considered to be from Cornwall, England. The lyrics are thought to be many centuries old, the melody possibly even older, but the first publication of it was in 1823. It's a carol I've sung several times, slightly different versions or variations of it, but as far as carols go, this is definitely one I am less familiar with than some of the other ones. The lyrics do vary as well depending on which version you sing. I imagine Pentatonix will be using the most modern version, but if not, that would be quite cool. So that's where we're at right now. This one has been requested quite a few times over the last 2 years, so why don't we jump on in?
First Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay. Oh, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep.
Oh, what a lovely line from Kirsty. In a fairly cordial arrangement so far, one little line like that can just add so much to the sound. We're what, 51 minutes in? A relatively standard arrangement, but there's already so much to unpack. So I'm going to waste no time. We'll do our first pause here. Let's start with Avi. Avi's solo, one of the first things we hear in this piece. I love it. The more time that passes since he's left Pentatonix, the more gradually I kind of realized just how rich and vibrant and unique his voice is. I've seen him recently, I've met him, I've chatted to him. He's still out there doing all his music, which is great to see. I have known this though about his voice for a while. I always have, and I've said many times in my Pentatonix videos, but it's just something that grows on me as time goes, maybe because I'm getting older.
Shepherds in fields as they lay.
Because he's such a natural basso profundo, his voice is just so much deeper set than everyone. Biologically, it will be constructed slightly differently to your normal person. He's known for everything that he can provide down there, just so low. But at the same time, because of that and because of this unique tone of his, when he sings higher up in a more kind of normal range, it just adds this very unique quality to it, which we can all hear, and it's really distinct. The air that he uses is so nice. There's a tiny bit of rasp to the sounds. It sounds a little bit rough. His vibrato, which he has complete control over. Let me quickly get this next bit out of the way. And as always, I know I'll be met with people in the comments who disagree with me, and that's fine, but just hear me out. In this studio version we're hearing, when Avi has the solo, there's a bass part happening. We know that Scott can do it, and we'd expect it to be Scott, but I think it is Avi here, being layered underneath, multi-tracking, at least for the second half of his verse. So I'll play a bit, and the bass line goes dum, boom, 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 boom.
It's in fields as they lay.
That last note there, that is Avi. I've just spent some time talking about how unique his timbre is. That's his voice there. It just is. You just hear it and you know it. The only way I will not believe that to be true is if one of the Pentatonix members themselves reaches out to me and says, "So Hairless, actually that was Scott there." Because that's Avi, that's his voice. It just, you know, you can hear it. Why would they use him layered instead of Scott if Scott's available? I think the answer simply in a studio version is to enrich the sound. We know Scott has an incredible bass voice. We've heard it a lot. The transitions to him are just seamless, but they clearly think keeping Avi in here in this case will produce a slightly better sound overall right here at this moment in this arrangement. And I agree, because of that really unique raspy sound he has. And as you know by now, as I've said many times in my other Pentatonix videos, I am not someone who cares about the use of layering or multi-tracking. I'm all for it. But by saying that I think this is Avi could maybe be a little bit exciting, because it could stir something amongst a few people in the comments. To be honest, I think those people have stopped watching my videos now. I haven't received any negative comments on my Pentatonix videos in a while. Maybe I provide enough evidence for them not to argue with me. Anyway, that's just a really nice touch, and it just shows how someone having a unique voice can just be noticed and enrich the sound in certain ways. Then on to Mitch.
Fields where they lay keeping their sheep.
Straight tone on the falling scale notes, except for the last notes of each phrase where that rich vibrato comes through. A very rich sound, very different to Avi's sound. Quite airy for Mitch. We know he can sing much more powerfully if he wants to, but no, he's choosing to implement his head voice for a lot of this. And Kirsty, underneath him, has this very forward ooh sound.
They lay keeping their sheep.
Contrasting Mitch's very airy and open and backwards type of sound. And in terms of the arrangement, I believe there's actually been no homophony, so where they're all singing the same words at the same time as each other. It's all just been one melody, Avi then Mitch, with ahs or oohs in the backing accompaniment, including Kevin. It was kind of homophonic for Avi's verse, where it was a much more chordal sound in the background. Now for Mitch's verse.
On a cold winter's night.
There's been a progression in the sound, more independent lines, like Scott coming in after Kirsty, that kind of thing. Subtle idea of progression and growth, but I think the only sort of moment that was different was the changeover from Avi to Mitch.
Fields as they lay.
Where we get no L in there. We also got that where I paused just after Kirsty's really nice line. So let's continue and see what's in store for the rest of this one. Oh, I forgot to mention the very, very opening, the first thing we hear. We get this wind. The wind is actually pitched though. It's a C. I mean, there are loads of notes we can hear, but the main note is a C, which is the key of this. That's a nice way to create a more atmospheric sound, complements the video whilst also actually serving a musical purpose as well in terms of the harmony. Ah, you know what? It's been a while since we've done a Pentatonix transcription. Cue Sir Hairless from the future to transcribe what we've heard so far, that first minute or so. If you're seeing this, it means I've put that transcription at the end of this video for time reasons. So also, if you're watching me say this now, make sure you stay until the end to see that. That line by Kirsty is just so nice. Okay, I could be wrong here, but based off the Pentatonix I know, especially from the Avi era, and how they tend to structure the arrangements, especially the carols actually, I would guess that now we are breaking into a Pentatonix moment, where they add in a section that does not appear in the traditional carol, like in Carol of the Bells, where I did a transcription of that whole additional section. If you fancy seeing another transcription today, then make sure to check out that one as well. I would list all of the arrangements in which they do this, where they add in their own section, but to be honest, it will be the vast majority of them. I shouldn't have made that guess because now I have. I'll probably be very wrong, but that's what my gut is telling me. Anyway, so what have we just heard in the last minute? I think the main thing, let's start with the introduction of Kevin coming in with the percussion and the body percussion. As soon as he starts doing the body percussion, I don't know why, but I start imagining, I don't know, people moving, maybe the three wise men or the shepherds moving across the vast landscape to go and meet baby Jesus. Maybe the dum, 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 it sounds a bit like horses trotting. You can hear that in there, right? That can't just be me. I could sound like a lunatic saying that, but it enhances the sound, especially when the video is them being very, very stationary, just standing there, still background, everything very serene, very calm. It's not just about the visuals though, because the music, the main thing with Pentatonix, what do they do when the beat comes in? The backing parts now are just repeating these oohs, very subtle. It's like the volume has been turned right down, and they've become much more modern in their rhythms, jumpy rhythms. Doo-da, da-da. So the arrangement is clearly becoming a bit more modern, especially with this beat coming in as well. If you enjoy these videos or find them helpful, please consider supporting me. Patreon has a bunch of exclusive benefits, behind the scenes videos, additional reaction content, Q&A videos, and more. For a one-time donation, you can donate me a hot chocolate at the Buy Me a Coffee link, or become a YouTube member for these groovy emojis and membership badges. And a huge thank you to these lovely people on the screen now. The harmony as well. Like I say, they've just repeated these oohs, and not just the word or the phrase ooh, but actually the notes, the chords. This is causing very modern dissonance that you wouldn't really get in traditional carols. Why? Well, Avi, he's going dum, dum, dum. And then on top we have repeated over and over. So we get a... There's some dissonance. Some more dissonance. 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 I find that interesting because we're seeing a more modern take on the carol now in many different ways. By bringing in the percussion, I get this notion of movement in my head, of travel, but then harmonically they are doing the opposite thing. They are remaining static. It's only Avi who's moving, and of course Scott with his melody. Quite different to what we heard before with this very homophonic Noel, lovely parallel motion, just a really good blend, you know, solid blend. And with that, we have Kirsty's solo. Prior to that was Scott. We've now had all of them have their verse. Not Kevin, of course, which is to be expected. And another example of multi-tracking. Very subtle, though. Kirsty has her melody, but we can still hear her and Scott and Mitch in the background with these oohs. It goes to show that we can multi-track. It doesn't really make the sound seem that much bigger. Everything's carefully calculated, as always with Pentatonix. Let's continue from the bit that we paused that I think will be a Pentatonix moment. After this boom. Oh, sorry, Avi, we'll get to you in just a second. I guess I was right about the Pentatonix moment, but that did not go in the direction I thought it was going to go in. That's really interesting what we just heard as well. I'm going to listen again to the last 10 seconds or so, just to make sure I'm not hearing things. It was one of these moments where I just happened to be listening to Scott. Okay, so it was not going in the direction I was thinking of, because this is just a climax moment. We've been moving up and then we get this lovely parallel motion move on that Noel. Let me show you on the keyboard. So it rises up to here, Avi, Mitch, Kirsty, and then they all just move down by one. Nice parallel movement, as parallel as it can get. This is a huge sound, and the really interesting thing, the astute-eyed amongst you would have noticed that I only played three notes in each chord when we have four of them singing here. Why have I done that? Well, Scott does not actually have a part. We're not hearing Scott anywhere right now. We can actually hear him go just before that on Noel. Noel. And then he holds on that note there. Listen to that coming through.
Noel, Noel.
And he comes off, leaving just the other three. So why have they got the four of them singing in this video? I just think because it looks better. It's a climax moment. Kevin is now off the percussion, so him standing still is very obvious, exaggerated. And it's a huge sound. Showing four people will maybe subconsciously make us feel a bigger sound. Just really interesting how we're hearing just three of them, and the sound is so, so big. I love Avi's little slide off at the bottom there as well. Right, sorry for that little diversion. We've had our climax moment, black screen, now silence. Obviously, I'm wondering what comes now. For a split second, I thought that might actually be the end, but it doesn't look like it. So let's carry on for the last 30 seconds or so.
Born is the King of Israel. Born is the King of Israel. Noel, 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 Noel.
Oh, lovely end. Avi sinking down to that bottom C. Doo-doo. Oh. Nope, no chance. I have to be ill to get that low. Lovely final section, not too much more to say. We have our big climax, then everything is reduced, very choral. I love how Avi comes in, and then, of course, Kevin.
Born is the King of Israel.
And the rhythmic augmentation on Israel here, so every note is doubled in length. In other words, Kevin gets to sing for twice as long. And I think every time he gets a solo, it will make me smile.
Of Israel. Noel,
Slight shift to the minor on the end of Israel.
Israel.
Dum, 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 because of Avi there. Dum. And then
Noel.
Mitch comes in, angelic voice, back to the major, that root chord of ours. And there we go. Well, before we finish up, it's time for the transcription. Yeah, really nice arrangement. I can see why so many people suggested it. Like I said in the introduction of my video, this is a carol that I'm not actually as familiar with as most other carols, so I don't know too many other versions. This is definitely a very, very nice alternate version to now have listened to. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you very much if you made it this far. Would really appreciate a like, comment to help with the algorithm. If you don't want to write any words, it will be emoji time. And for this one, I think let's go for a candle and some music notes, just like you see on the screen now. Thank you once again, and I will see you in the next one.